What's up, guys? Welcome to Morningwood, the Hardwood Herald.
Oh,
The Hardwood.
I missed that.
You missed the name. That's pretty good, right?
It's pretty good.
The Hardwood Herald's NBA morning show.
Okay.
Larry Villains and I, we're going to touch on some NBA topics, some bigger picture stuff, some current event stuff. It's going to be 20 to 30-minute episodes. We're hoping to do it daily throughout, the NBA season. I got summoned for grand jury duty that I might have in a couple of weeks, so we'll see how long it's going to last if I get selected for that. Hopefully I don't. But in the meantime, we're going to have some fun doing our morning show. So our first topic is Jonathon Isaac suffered a pretty gruesome injury last night. And that injury really, really brought me back to a horrible time in my basketball fandom when Derrick Rose was driving the lane, went to do a hop step, tore his ACL when he shouldn't have been in the game. And it was a similar scenario for the Magic last night. And why are coaches leaving, some of their star players in when they're up so big?
It's hard. I mean, they're both so young. I mean, the Derrick Rose one, I think, makes less sense, to have him out there at that time against Philly.
Right.
They were up big. Was it 2 minutes left in the game or something like that?
Yeah.
It's a rough call. I mean, the Magic, they're fighting for a playoff spot. I mean, granted, they're playing with last night, Magic last night. There's no reason to be able to. You can't worry at all times that someone's going to get hurt at each time you're keeping them in. I mean, you can't roll out every bench guy with 2 minutes left for the just in case factor. It is hard to, in unfortunate situations like this happen.
Yeah,
it's a shame, but I think the Derrick Rose one was a little bit worse.
Definitely. I mean, I agree. And plus, Jonathon Isaac, they're trying to get him game reps in preparation for the playoffs. So, yeah, having him out there up so big, obviously in hindsight wasn't the right move. But at this point, I mean, he looks like a guy that injuries just might be inevitable for him.
He finally was starting to play well, too, which is a shame. It was finally the Magic fans. I mean, since Dwight left and all their draft picks and top lottery picks year after year, he looked like he was going to be something. It's a shame. I really do hope he can come back and be able to play at a high level.
Yeah, as do I. And with his injury now, Mo Bamba wasn't getting a lot of minutes.
No.
And they used the 5th pick on him, I believe. 6th pick, maybe?
One of two.
I think it was 6. In a very strong draft. He was a guy that I was high on in the draft. I really wanted the Bulls to take. We ended up taking Wendell Carter, who I'm very happy with. And obviously, in hindsight, it looks like the right move. But Mo Bamba hasn't really been given the same leash that other rookies that year had been given, and he still really hasn't. And he's playing behind an all-star in Vucevic. And then you have Jonathon Isaac, who can kind of take up some of those center minutes. So hopefully now he's able to step up and kind of show a little bit, because, we've seen with young players, when they are given a shot, they do, sometimes prove people wrong. I mean, look at Markelle Fultz. He hasn't necessarily turned out to be the superstar that he was made out to be, but he's looked solid. So, this year with the Magic.
I think so as well. Do you think it's important for them to be able to try to get the 8th seed to get crushed by the Bucks? Or do you think that, that could possibly hurt them? Do you think the reps, what's more important, the reps or the demoralizing loss?
I think the reps are important. I mean, obviously they'll get absolutely manhandled by the Bucks in 4 games if that happens, but anytime you get the playoff reps, it's important. But I think they're going to get the 7th seed. I don't think there's any way that Brooklyn or Washington catches them.
Sure.
Especially with Brooklyn's team decimated as is. But anything's possible, I guess. But I mean, if you could play Toronto, is that much better?
No, right. Absolutely not.
Because, I mean, let's be honest. The Bucks and the Raptors, and I guess the Celtics too, you could probably throw in there, are the class of the East.
For sure.
I want to put Philly in there, but since Joel Embiid and Shake Milton appear to potentially want to be brawling at some point, I don't know if their chemistry seems right, it just seems off. What do you think? Do you think the Bucks or the Raptors or the Celtics are going to come out of the East?
If gun to my head, I had to pick one. I think it's the Raptors. That's me personally, only because, yeah, they got finals experience and everything like that. But on paper, they're the most complete team. Giannis is incredible, but until they show me that Giannis can carry a team, to the finals, or it's one of two things. Either Giannis is that good and has to be able to carry his team to the finals, or George Hill has to step up. Chris Middleton's going to do his thing. He's going to get his 20 points.
Yeah.
You can write that down. George Hill has not shown anything that he's going to be able to be able to help carry this team to a finals. And then it's Giannis on his own. And Giannis, it's much harder to get his transition baskets when the paint is collapsing and everything like that in the playoffs. It's a different animal. It's like Lamar Jackson for football for me. Until I can be shown that Lamar Jackson can succeed in the playoffs, I don't buy it. I think it's a great regular season situation. Same thing with Giannis for me. Until Giannis, he puts up a ton of stats, but in that defense is a lot different in the playoffs than it is in the regular season. So, and the Celtics, I think they're going to have big man problems. I mean, how do they guard anybody down low? I mean, if it's Marc Gasol or Giannis, whatever the situation may be, who's guarding them?
Yeah, that's an issue. I also think the Raptors are the team. They just look like they're the most complete team on both ends, and they can kind of play any style, which, like the Celtics, like you said, they might have big man problems. The Bucks are going to have problems just because if Giannis doesn't get 50 and Middleton doesn't drop 30, they could be in trouble. Like, you mentioned George Hill, obviously I think Eric Bledsoe is a part of that as well.
Right.
And my big concern with the Bucks is not really their starters. I'm looking down their bench, and it's a bunch of like veterans who it's not like they're going to be afraid in the playoffs, but not most of their veterans can't go off and get hot and go for 25.
Sure.
And in the playoffs, I feel like you need that guy to come off the bench who's going to be able to carry you a little bit, who's going to be able to have that night where he just wins you a game.
Well, and that's it. I don't think that the Bucks, they can't afford one person. If Middleton has an off night, it's a loss.
Exactly.
That's where with the Raptors, if Lowry, doesn't put up 20 points, it's okay. If Bam doesn't put up a ton of points, they have other options.
Yeah, I agree.
They have other options. They don't have these other options on these other teams. If Tatum doesn't put up 20 points, 25 points, Celtics are in trouble.
Yeah, unless Jaylen Brown can continue to grow into that kind of consistent role, because Kemba's knee, we don't know what's going on there. Obviously, we know just us watching him as New Yorkers back through his UConn days. He hit one of the most iconic shots, big shots there is. We know that he's not going to be afraid to perform in the playoffs, but he's a small guard. So Jaylen Brown really needs to continue to grow into that role where he could carry the load if the other guys don't have it. And he did it last night. I mean, he had a huge fourth quarter, hit, the biggest shot. So good on them. I mean, we're showing a little bit of disrespect to the Pacers right now, considering TJ Warren just dropped a 50 piece.
Sure.
But, if we're going to be honest,
with one game.
Yeah, without Oladipo being 100% healthy and, them losing Sabonis, they're not really a team that I think is a threat.
I'm also over all the people who all of a sudden out of nowhere, how can you get rid of TJ Warren for cash assets? Yeah, it was a big deal then, but it's completely blown out of proportion the minute he drops a 50 dime. Come on.
Yeah, look, TJ Warren's good.
He's good.
He's good. He's a good player. He's on a fair contract. The Suns made a horrible trade getting rid of him for cash considerations.
Yeah.
They've made a lot of questionable decisions. They draft Mikal Bridges, trade for Kelly Oubre, then reach for Cam Johnson. They all play the same position, and they all are good players, but they're not maximizing their asset. So I get why they wanted to move on from TJ Warren, and I would rather have Mikal Bridges out of all of those guys going forward. So the Suns, cash considerations. As a Bulls fan who traded their second-round pick for cash considerations, and there's a Bulls podcast called Cash Consideration because of that, and it gives the reputation of cheap ownership.
Right.
I'm fully empathetic to the fact that sucks. But I'm not upset that the Suns traded TJ Warren for their other guys. Because he's a good player, but he's not a guy that moved the needle. I don't think he's the ideal fit next to Devin Booker.
But I also don't think that TJ Warren is all of a sudden he's averaging 25 a game either. I mean, is this going to be a one-off situation, or is this the start for the future? Granted, it's cash considerations. And
right.
Also, as a Knicks fan, I can double down and say having numerous players at the same position is not great either.
It's not a great idea. So like you said, the move trading him made sense. It's just the fact that, hey, maybe let's try to get, some kind of asset besides lining our owners' pockets.
I like to think that GMs shop players around in that situation to find the best, option for them. I don't know why the Knicks wouldn't be interested in cash considerations. So I like to think that, they would shop players around. Who knows? But I think, I'm over the, now that he dropped 50, let's completely, go down on the Suns. We're smarter than everybody. Granted, could the Suns done a better job in that trade? For sure. But is it just glorified now because he dropped 50 in this game? Absolutely. And I don't want to hear on Twitter how much everyone's smart or everyone's great and everyone knows everything because TJ Warren dropped 50 and they said that was a bad trade, however long ago, a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Yeah. Like I said, TJ Warren, he's in the NBA. I mean, he's improved his 3-point shooting, but he's exactly what he was made out to be.
Right.
Like, before he was drafted, he was a scorer.
Sure.
That's what he did. He scored. And, he's a guy last year, he averaged like 18 a game. This year he was 19 and a half, something like that. He is what he is. He's a scorer who has improved, but he's not going to all of a sudden change your fortunes because you gave up on him too early. Like, I don't think this is a scenario that the Suns are going to look back on and really regret, even after, the 50 piece or whatever, because at the end of the day, the Pacers, this storyline is probably going to be forgotten once the Pacers are eliminated from the playoffs.
He's no Jody Meeks.
Ooh, that one of our all-time gambling losses that I don't want to talk about. Let's head out west for a minute, because the 8th seed has been really fun. This battle for the 8th seed. We know that the NBA wanted Zion and the Pelicans to be the team that, at least gets to play in the play-in game for that 8th spot, which, I mean, Ja Morant versus Zion Williamson in a play-in game tournament scenario seems like ratings gold, so I get it.
Sure.
But they have not looked great.
No. I mean, Zion's minutes, man. I didn't think that was going to be a thing going into this.
I also didn't think that was going to be a thing. I thought he'd be ready to go. I mean, I get that he had to leave the bubble. Maybe his conditioning's not up to snuff. I get the fact that they want to protect their asset. Maybe they're thinking long term. They don't think risking.
Yeah, but I mean, which I 100% agree with. But in a close game, one possession game, you're going to not put him out there. We're going to make that hard to do. And you're not trying to make this, you're not trying to make the playoffs in that regard. If he's going to play an additional 15 seconds for a one possession game, is that going to change whether or not he's going to get hurt or not get hurt?
No, and you use him as a decoy, if anything. I mean,
I'd
rather worry. I'd be more worried about Zion as setting a screen, like a blocker, like a lineman, or as a lob threat or whatever. Like him
a
just
rebounder, anything.
Right, anything. So yeah, that sucks, and they haven't looked good, and it upsets me because I'm really cheering for JJ Redick's playoff streak to continue. But I mean, it's not looking great. I mean, if we look at the 9th seed. Right now, San Antonio might be the one who gets into the
bubble Spurs, man. The bubble Spurs. You weren't ready for this. No one was ready for this.
My thing is, I don't understand why people are surprised.
It's rough. I mean, their team makeup, it is really good in 2008.
It is. And they're so weird. But, like, especially in a situation like this, where it's like teams get a little mini camp, basically.
Yeah.
They've been off for so long. The Spurs infrastructure, all of those dudes are ready to go. They're all vets. They've all been there. They know, like, they're not going to be these young dudes who need to kind of get back into what they're doing. They're all dudes that play. I mean, yeah, they have their DeJounte Murrays and They're young guys who haven't been there like DeMar DeRozan has, and they lost LaMarcus Aldridge, but Popovich is always going to have his guys ready to go.
They just look fluid. They look like they're already playing like a team. I'm going to really enjoy DeMar DeRozan on a max contract when he's 35 in the Knicks.
That might be next year.
I understand.
I mean, Tibbs looks like he'd love DeMar DeRozan.
Who doesn't?
Point
analytics.
Point DeRozan. Can you imagine the DeRozan RJ Barrett spacing that we got going there?
That's good.
No, I don't think that would happen. But
Rubio.
Look, I'm a Rubio truther. I wanted to sign him last year.
I love Rubio, but you need shooting around him. And RJ Barrett and DeMar DeRozan are not the answers for that.
Not a great fit.
Well, you have been watching the Mitchell Robinson videos, so we're already rolling with him as point guard. So
point guard, 3-point shooter. So why do you need other shooters when your center can shoot it off the dribble like that?
I don't think we need other players, to be honest.
But back to the 8 seed race. I mean, tough loss for Portland. Made a big comeback, but
they keep doing this. They keep doing this over and over again. Portland was the most overhyped team going into this bubble, and it's constantly. They just can't put it all together. I don't know why. I mean, the team's not drastically different from last year, especially with Nurkic being back.
Yeah.
It's just not clicking to wins.
They kind of have the same problem that Milwaukee has, where they don't really have a guy on their bench that you could just put in and be like, hey, I need you to get 25 tonight. I need you to get 15 tonight.
Yeah.
Like it could have been Rodney Hood, but he's injured. So even with those guys, I mean, last night, Dame and CJ both went off. Nurkic went off, and they did fight. And the Celtics are a good team. So, it's not like that loss is disappointing and like, Portland's not going to be able to make up the ground. I mean, they're a half game back of the Spurs to get into that play-in game. Memphis lost last night. Tough one. Dylan Brooks, really bad defensive possession there at the end after Jaren Jackson hit a great shot. It's going to be a fun little scenario there. I mean, technically, I think you need to be 4 games behind the 8th seed, within 4 games to get the play-in tournament, but you have to be the 9th seed. So I guess technically even Phoenix has that shot to still make it. And Phoenix has been playing really well.
I hate this.
They're not going to get there because I don't think they're going to be able to make up the ground to get to the 9th spot. But all of the teams, Sacramento, technically New Orleans, all of these teams are capable. So I guess that's exciting, but we're losing games. I mean, we're already 2 games in. We're only playing.
I also think the Pelicans really got screwed over because with the schedule that they had to play and, the second half of the season that we missed out, they had the easiest schedule remaining. So for them to be able to go into this bubble and, granted, they're still playing an easier schedule compared to the bubble, but you're still playing realistically the top 15, 14 teams on each conference compared to playing our beloved favorite teams. Right.
The Knicks, the Bulls, the Curry, Clay-less Warriors, the Cleveland Cavaliers.
For sure.
Yeah, that sucks. And there's only 6 games left for this initial play-in, and those games they start closing in fast. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Our last thing that we're going to talk about before we head out today is, how the NBA has handled the entire situation from the jump. And obviously, compared to some of these other leagues, it seems like they've handled it really well.
Baseball's an absolute train wreck. It's a disaster. It seems so out of touch of what's really going on with society. Baseball seemed out of touch, and now it's exclamation pointed that they are just don't know how to get out of their own way. Since Adam Silver stepped in, he's been nothing but incredible, in my opinion. He handles every situation the best that it possibly could. I think this is great. I think they nailed the bubble. I think it's going great. Even getting past the Lou Williams negative media attention to it, I think they are crushing it.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a situation that you can't be perfect in.
It's finding ways to make the situation better. It's an unfortunate situation that everyone has to deal with, but it's all right. You got these cards. How do you play them right? It's kind of the same idea for me with WWE and AEW. WWE, they're just trying to move along as is and hoping that this is just going to pass.
Yeah.
AEW decided that we're going to go all in to try to figure out how to make this cool. And that's the same idea where it's the NBA went all in, like, all right, well, now you could hear what all the players are talking. So that's a cool thing that you didn't get before. Come listen to try to do this. You have the, electronic fans in around the arena. Is it corny? Kind of. Is it cool? It is, especially to have
It's cool.
Paul Pierce and Dirk out there and stuff. That's just fun. It's just fun. And as well as, I have no idea how you're tuning in to be able to try to get yourself on the screen or whatever the case may be. I'm sure it's like season ticket holders or something like that. Some version of that, I think that's a cool touch for people to try to get themselves on the screen, as well as it's drawing in viewers to the NBA. People are now watching the game besides for the game, be able to see if they can get themselves on the screen in the background and everything like that to say, hey, mom, look, there I am. Where baseball, they have cardboard cutouts. Like, come on.
Yeah, Fox tried the virtual fan thing, but to CGI them in instead of closing it off.
Well, that's what I thought. I thought it was going to be like a CGI, not really their situation when I first heard this. Yeah. Then I realized there was a screen with fans, and it's a rotating ticker of fans that are watching.
Yeah.
Okay, that's actually kind of cool. I'm into it.
Yeah, I'm into it too. I think part of the thing that is cool about the whole court experience is that we're kind of normalized to this because of NBA 2K.
Right.
It looks like they're playing 2K. It looks like you could be watching a streamer with some of this action. And the way they set it up like that, like you said, with the virtual fans, I think is great. I mean, everything feels intimate. I mean, like you said, hearing the players on the court, it's so much. I like it better.
I think it's cool.
Watching the Heat. Was it the Heat Nuggets? I don't know. There was one of the Nuggets game. I think it was Heat Nuggets the other day, and it was like the second or third play of the game, and you hear the Heat calling out the defense, saying "same play, same play."
Yeah, that's great.
Those little touches you don't get to hear when there's 20,000 people screaming or there's whatever music playing in the background.
Yeah.
So that's really cool, and I mean, obviously, I think we're learning that this bubble situation is probably the only way to make this work right now.
I think so. I don't know how to do it with that. I mean, granted, NBA is at the advantage with having less players, less staff required compared to other teams. So they have the advantage in that regard, and they're knocking it out of the park. Now, they also completely double down on, Black Lives Matter and everything like that. And I think that's great. I mean, whether or not, I'm all for Black Lives Matter and the way this works and everything like that, and everyone unity and peace. However, they're going all in on it. And that's where, that's basically, besides the great message that I believe it's sending, it's also going with the players that, hey, we got your back. Let's go. We're trying to make the best of this. This is your voice. We're not going to try to quiet you. We're going to try to, make it louder. And I think that's great. That being said, I appreciate the great message that everything's giving. I absolutely hate the jerseys. I do not like it. It's weird to me. I like the names. I didn't like the nicknames when they did that a few years ago. I hate the jerseys. But I get the idea behind the jerseys. One, obviously the great message and everything like that. Two, let's be real, you sell jerseys that way.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to, I'm sure they will sell the jerseys. I don't mind the jerseys. It is what it is. I don't care. It is hard to figure out sometimes who some of the players are.
Sure.
My thing is if you're going to do the jersey thing, let Jimmy Butler not have a name on his jersey.
Yeah, I agree. Why?
That makes it less of a marketing scheme.
Sure.
And more of an authentic, we have your back kind of thing. And look, the NBA, like you said, they have had the players' backs. They've amplified their voices. They're not trying to tone it down. They don't care about the Twitter people who are saying they'll never watch another NBA game again. Because
they're going to continue to watch.
Because they know that they're going to continue to watch and fuck them. You don't watch, you don't watch. So Yeah, they've done a great job. Really excited. I knock on wood, hope that everything continues to go great and we don't have some kind of Lou Williams situation that goes bad. But we're gonna find out as the days go on, and that's gonna be it. Episode 1, Morningwood.
We did it.
Morningwood. We're gonna try to get it at about 9 o'clock every day, every morning. So tune in. We're gonna be here. Thanks for watching, guys.